world was loud, guitars screaming, disco rising, rebellion everywhere. And yet, in the middle of that noise, came a voice so gentle it silenced everything. Karen Carpenter's tone wasn't just beautiful, it was pure emotion. When she sang, "When I Was Young," I'd listen to the radio. She wasn't performing nostalgia. She was living it. It felt like she was reaching across time, touching every listener's most fragile memory. But here was the paradox. While her voice comforted millions, inside she was fading. The very song that celebrated remembering was born from someone quietly disappearing inside herself. Richard Carpenter, the perfectionist composer, built their sound like stained glass, polished, fragile, holy. But Karen's melancholy gave it life. Together they created something that felt eternal and unbearably human. Yesterday once more wasn't rebellion. Yet it rebelled against everything the decade stood for. No flash, no distortion, just truth, sung softly. And somehow, that whisper became immortal. Stay until the end. You'll understand why this song still breathes. The studio smelled of real tape and coffee. Richard sat by the console, pencil tapping in rhythm, while Karen, silent, rested her hands on the piano keys. It was late. Always late. That's when honesty came easiest. Richard had a vision, to capture the innocence of the songs they grew up with, those radio melodies that made the world seem whole. But he didn't want imitation. He wanted resurrection. He wanted memory to sing. Karen didn't talk much during recording. She just listened. To the hum of the room, the creak of the stool, the soft breath between notes. When she began to sing, it wasn't rehearsed. It was remembering. The microphones caught more than a performance. They caught yearning. Each word of every sha-la-la-la, every whoa-whoa-whoa still shines, sounded like she was trying to hold on to something already gone. Outside, the 1970s were wild and loud. But inside this quiet room, something sacred was forming. Art was no longer about making noise. It was about protecting silence. And as the last harmony faded into tape, Richard looked up, almost whispering, "This one feels like forever." Success never protected them. For every hit, there came criticism. Too clean, too sweet, too safe. But the Carpenters were never chasing coolness. They were chasing truth. They lived in a world where music had to shock to be heard. Karen's softness, her honesty, was treated like weakness, yet that softness was her rebellion. Behind the stage lights, she grew thinner, both in frame and spirit. Touring drained her. Expectations consumed her. But when the music started, her fragility turned into radiance. She sang as if perfection could save her, if only for a few minutes. Richard, the silent architect, faced his own wars. Deadlines, exhaustion, and the pressure to stay relevant. But together, they stood quietly defiant. They refused to harden their sound. They refused to become something they weren't. And in that defiance, they made history. Because rebellion doesn't always come in distortion and fury. Sometimes it comes in harmony, in the courage to stay tender when the world demands armor. When critics mocked Yesterday Once More as sentimental, they missed the truth. It wasn't about the past. It was about what the world was losing. Then came the release. A DJ somewhere in Los Angeles put the record on, and for 4 minutes, America paused. The melody drifted through living rooms, diners, and long car rides beneath fading sunsets. People didn't just hear it, they felt it. It was like rediscovering an old photograph, one that still smelled of home. Radio stations couldn't stop playing it. Requests flooded in. For once, everyone, teenagers, parents, soldiers, dreamers, shared the same silence, listening. Karen's voice became the sound of longing itself. Her phrasing was perfect, yet trembling, as if she understood the ache behind every listener's smile. Letters arrived by the thousands. A veteran in Texas wrote, "I played it all night. It reminded me of who I used to be." A mother in Ohio said, "My daughter and I sing it every morning. We finally agree on something." The Carpenters didn't just create a hit. They created a bridge between generations, between the living and their memories. As one reviewer said, "It feels like the whole world took a deep breath." That's how impact works. Not through volume, but through resonance. Truth always finds its way. Time passed, and the world moved on. New sounds, new idols, new distractions. But yesterday once more never really left. It became part of life's background, always waiting to be rediscovered. Then, after 1983, silence. Karen was gone. Her voice stilled too soon, her heart too fragile for the weight she carried. But even death couldn't erase what she left behind. Every few years, the song returns. In a film, a TV show, a YouTube clip. A teenager hears it and asks, "Who is she?" And then the cycle begins again. Richard, now older and quieter, preserves their legacy with grace. He once said, "People don't just listen to Karen, they remember through her." And that's the truth. Her voice doesn't belong to one generation. It belongs to everyone who's ever missed something they can't get back. Yesterday once more lives because memory lives. Because every sha-la-la-la still shines, even when the world forgets where it came from. The Carpenters didn't just record songs, they recorded time itself. And somehow, every time that record spins, time listens back. Close your eyes. What song takes you home? Not to a place, but to a moment you thought was gone. That's what Yesterday Once More does. It reminds us that memory is not weakness. It's proof that we've lived. It whispers that gentleness still matters, even in a world that's grown so loud. Karen's voice is more than nostalgia. It's a compass, pointing back to the heart. And if you listen closely, between the notes, you'll hear something rare. Peace. We can't go back to yesterday, but we can remember. And in remembering, we keep it alive. That's what the Carpenters gave us, the gift of return without regret. So tonight, maybe let the record spin again. Turn off the lights. Let that first line echo softly. When I was young, I'd listen to the radio, and as her voice fades into silence, remember. The most beautiful part of yesterday is that it still sings today. Stay with us for more stories that remember.